The narrow alley stretched before Jackie Chan like a concrete canyon, its brick walls rising on either side, creating the perfect acoustic chamber for the echo of his footsteps. The late afternoon sun barely penetrated this urban crevice, leaving most of the space bathed in cool shadows that danced with the occasional flutter of laundry hanging from fire escapes above. Jackie walked with his characteristic easy stride, hands loosely at his sides, completely unaware that 5 pairs of eyes were tracking his every movement from strategic positions throughout the alley. The first sign of trouble came not as a sound, but as a shift in the atmosphere itself. The ambient noise of Hong Kong's bustling streets seemed to fade, replaced by an almost predatory stillness. Jackie's instincts, honed by decades of both choreographed combat and real-world encounters, began to whisper warnings that his conscious mind hadn't yet processed. His pace didn't change, but his awareness expanded like ripples in a pond. From behind a cluster of garbage bins, the largest of the 5 men emerged. He was built like a concrete mixer, squat, powerful, and designed for demolition work. His leather jacket creaked as he rolled his shoulders, a sound that seemed unnaturally loud in the confined space. Almost simultaneously, 2 more figures stepped out from a doorway alcove, their movements synchronized with military precision. These weren't street thugs looking for a quick score. They moved with the calculated confidence of professionals. Jackie stopped walking, not because he was afraid, but because the geometry of the situation had become clear. The 4th attacker materialized from behind a fire escape ladder, effectively cutting off the rear exit, while the 5th dropped down from a low rooftop with surprising agility. They formed a loose circle around him, each positioned to cover a potential escape route. Someone had planned this carefully. Jackie Chan. The leader spoke in heavily accented English, his voice carrying the weight of someone accustomed to being obeyed. "You come with us. No trouble, no problem." Jackie's response was a gentle smile that seemed almost apologetic. "Ah, but you see," he said, his own accent wrapping around the English words like silk around steel. "I think maybe there's been some kind of mistake. I was just trying to get to the dumpling shop on Wan Chai Road." The leader's expression didn't change, but his companions began to close the circle tighter. Jackie could now smell their individual scents: cheap cologne mixed with cigarettes, the metallic tang of weapons, the subtle aroma of nervousness despite their confident postures. The leader himself smelled like expensive aftershave and violence. "No mistake," came the reply. "Someone wants to see you. We make sure you get there." It was then that Jackie's eyes began their characteristic inventory of the environment. This wasn't a conscious process so much as an instinctive cataloging that happened faster than thought itself. The garbage bins were aluminum, lightweight but solid enough to support weight. The fire escape ladder hung approximately 12 feet above the ground, just out of easy reach but not impossible for someone with the right approach. There were scattered newspapers that would affect footing, a few broken bottles that caught the light like tiny mirrors, and most interesting of all, that fire escape ladder swayed slightly in the urban breeze. The leader nodded to his companions, and they began moving inward with practiced coordination. Jackie's hands came up in a peaceful gesture, but his weight shifted almost imperceptibly to the balls of his feet. "Okay, okay," he said, his voice maintaining its friendly tone even as his muscles coiled like springs. "But maybe we can discuss this like civilized people? I know a very good tea shop just around the corner." The first attacker reached for Jackie's arm, confident that 5 against 1 meant the outcome was predetermined. That's when Jackie Chan decided to remind them why assumptions in his presence were always dangerous. In one fluid motion that seemed to defy both physics and common sense, Jackie dropped low and swept his leg in a perfect arc. The move wasn't just about knocking the man off balance, it was about positioning himself exactly 3 feet from the largest garbage bin while simultaneously creating the split-second opening he needed. As the first attacker stumbled, Jackie planted his hands on the rim of the bin and vaulted over it in a movement so smooth it looked choreographed. But instead of landing behind the bin for cover, Jackie used it as a springboard. His feet touched the metal surface for barely a heartbeat before launching him upward and backward in an impossible trajectory that sent him sailing through the air toward the fire escape ladder. His hands caught the bottom rung with a solid metallic clang that echoed through the alley like a bell announcing the beginning of something extraordinary. The 5 attackers froze for a crucial moment, their brains struggling to process what they had just witnessed. 1 second their target had been trapped on the ground between them, and the next, he was hanging from a ladder 12 feet above their heads, grinning down at them with what could only be described as genuine enthusiasm for the challenge they represented. "Okay," Jackie called down cheerfully. his voice carrying just a hint of laughter. Now we can have some real fun. What happened next would later be described by the 5 attackers in 5 completely different ways, though they all agreed on one point: they had never seen anything quite like it. Jackie didn't simply climb the ladder like a normal person seeking higher ground. Instead, he used it as the centerpiece of what could only be called an aerial ballet of controlled chaos. With his feet braced against the brick wall behind the ladder, Jackie pushed off and swung the entire structure in a wide arc. The ladder, designed to be stable and secure, suddenly became a pendulum with a human counterweight. As it swung toward the group below, Jackie released one hand and extended his leg in a perfectly timed kick that connected with the second attacker's shoulder, sending the man spinning into his companion like a human bowling ball. The beauty of the move wasn't just in its execution, but in its efficiency. Jackie had managed to take 2 opponents out of immediate action while simultaneously repositioning himself for the next phase of his improvised defense. As the ladder completed its arc and swung back toward the wall, Jackie rode it like a seasoned sailor navigating rough seas. The remaining 3 attackers, now wiser to the fact that their numerical advantage meant nothing against someone who could weaponize the environment itself, spread out and began looking for ways to reach their elevated target. The leader pointed to a fire escape on the opposite wall, barking orders in rapid Cantonese that roughly translated to, "Get up there and drag him down." But Jackie wasn't finished with his aerial show. As the ladder reached the peak of its return swing, he executed a move that defied both gravity and reasonable expectations. He released his grip entirely, using the momentum to launch himself toward a narrow ledge that ran along the building wall about 8 feet up. His fingers found purchase on the weathered concrete, and for a moment he hung there like a human gargoyle, assessing his next move. The third attacker, showing more courage than sense, had managed to grab the bottom of the ladder and was attempting to climb up. Jackie looked down at him with what appeared to be genuine sympathy. "Oh, my friend," he called out. "I really don't think that's a good idea." To demonstrate his point, Jackie began to swing from the ledge, using his body weight to set the ladder in motion again. The climbing attacker found himself riding an increasingly violent pendulum, his grip loosening with each swing. On the 4th oscillation, he lost his hold entirely and fell backward into a conveniently placed pile of cardboard boxes, disappearing into them with a muffled crash and a string of colorful expletives. The 2 remaining attackers on the ground, the leader and his lieutenant, exchanged a glance that spoke volumes about their rapidly diminishing confidence in this mission. Above them, Jackie had somehow managed to work his way from the ledge to the actual fire escape platform, moving with the fluid grace of someone completely at home in 3-dimensional space. From his new vantage point, Jackie could see the entire tactical situation with crystal clarity. The alley was his chessboard now, and he was several moves ahead of his opponents. He picked up a small flower pot that someone had optimistically placed on the fire escape, hefting it to test its weight. Not to throw it, Jackie Chan didn't believe in causing unnecessary injury, but to use as a distraction. He tossed the pot gently toward the far end of the alley, where it shattered against a wall with a sound like a gunshot. Both remaining attackers spun toward the noise, their discipline cracking under the stress of fighting an opponent who seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at once. In that moment of distraction, Jackie dropped from the fire escape. Not jumped down or climbed down, but dropped in a controlled fall that brought him silently to the ground directly behind the leader. His landing was so quiet that neither man realized he was there until Jackie tapped the leader politely on the shoulder. The leader spun around, his face a mask of confusion and growing respect for what he was dealing with. Jackie stood there with his hands at his sides, not in a fighting stance, but in a posture of calm readiness. His breathing wasn't even labored despite the acrobatic display he had just performed. "Look," Jackie said conversationally, "I can do this all day, and I'm pretty sure we're just going to end up going in circles. How about we call it even? You tell whoever sent you that maybe they should try a different approach, and I promise not to mention this to anyone. Deal?" The leader's lieutenant, who had been backing away slowly during this exchange, suddenly turned and ran. His footsteps echoed off the alley walls as he disappeared around the corner, leaving his companions to face the consequences of their failed ambush alone. The leader looked around at his fallen companions, one still groaning from his encounter with the garbage bins, another just extracting himself from the cardboard box mountain, and the third sitting against the wall holding his shoulder and staring at Jackie with undisguised amazement. The mathematical reality of the situation had become undeniable. 5 professional enforcers had been systematically dismantled by one man who hadn't even broken a sweat. But what struck the leader most wasn't Jackie's physical abilities. Those were impressive enough to earn grudging respect. It was the complete absence of malice in his actions. Every move had been defensive, designed to neutralize rather than injure, to confuse rather than harm. Even now, standing 3 feet away from the man who had clearly orchestrated this attack, Jackie's posture remained non-threatening. "You know," Jackie continued, his tone still conversational, "I've been thinking about why someone would want to grab me off the street like this. Usually it's one of 3 reasons: money, revenge, or someone wants me to make a movie I don't want to make." He paused, studying the leader's expression. "But you guys feel more professional than that. This is business for you, right?" The leader's silence was answer enough. Jackie nodded thoughtfully, then reached into his jacket pocket. The remaining attackers tensed, but what he pulled out wasn't a weapon. It was a small red card with gold Chinese characters. "This is the business card for my manager," Jackie said, offering it to the leader. "If someone really needs to talk to me, there are proper channels. Much easier than all this climbing around fire escapes, don't you think?" The leader took the card automatically, his training warring with his growing realization that this job had gone far beyond his pay grade. Jackie Chan wasn't just physically impossible to handle, he was treating the entire encounter like a minor inconvenience rather than a serious threat. "The thing is," Jackie continued, helping the third attacker to his feet with genuine concern, "violence usually just creates more problems. Someone sent you to bring me somewhere, but now you have to explain why that didn't work out. Your employer gets angry, maybe decides to try something more dramatic next time. Then I have to deal with that, and pretty soon everyone's having a bad day." He dusted off the attacker's jacket with the casual care someone might show a friend. "But if we handle this like civilized people, maybe everyone saves face. You tell your boss that Jackie Chan is willing to meet, but only if it's a proper business meeting. No more back alley dramatics." The man Jackie was helping looked up at him with confusion. "Why are you being nice to me? I just tried to kidnap you." Jackie's laugh was warm and completely genuine. "Because you were doing your job. I can respect that, even if I can't go along with it. Besides," he gestured toward the fire escape ladder, which was still swaying gently from their earlier acrobatics. "You gave me a chance to practice some moves I hadn't tried in a while. That ladder thing was actually kind of fun." The leader found himself in the surreal position of conducting a cordial conversation with his intended victim, while his team regrouped around them. The second attacker had emerged from his cardboard cocoon, looking like he'd been gift-wrapped by a drunk person, bits of packaging material clinging to his hair and clothes. Despite everything, Jackie moved to help him as well, picking off the larger pieces of cardboard with the patient care of someone cleaning up after a child's art project. "You're all going to be sore tomorrow," Jackie said, addressing the group as a whole. "There's a really good traditional medicine shop about 6 blocks from here. Tell Dr. Wong that Jackie sent you. He'll give you something for the bruises." The first attacker, still leaning against the garbage bins, shook his head slowly. "This is the weirdest kidnapping attempt I've ever been part of." "Hopefully your last one too," Jackie replied with a grin. "Career change might be something to consider. Have any of you thought about stunt work? You've all got good reflexes." The leader pocketed the business card and straightened his leather jacket, trying to salvage some dignity from the situation. "My employer isn't going to be happy about this." "Then maybe your employer should learn some better manners," Jackie said, his tone still friendly but carrying just a hint of steel. "Hong Kong is a civilized city. We have restaurants, meeting rooms, perfectly good offices with comfortable chairs. Next time someone wants to talk business with me, they should try one of those instead of a back alley." As the 5 men began to collect themselves and prepare to leave, Jackie called out one final piece of advice. "And next time you're planning something like this, maybe check if there are any fire escapes around first. Just a professional tip." The leader paused at the mouth of the alley and turned back. "You really would have met with us properly?" "Of course," Jackie replied. "I'm always happy to talk. Just ask nicely next time." As they disappeared into the Hong Kong afternoon, Jackie looked up at the fire escape ladder one more time, smiled to himself, and continued on his way to the dumpling shop, already composing the story he would tell his friends about the most polite kidnapping attempt in cinema history.